Arne Slot probably doesn't understand why everyone said this job would be so hard. This man has just put 4 goals past the last 2 Champions League winners in a 4-day period and conceded nothing. He's beaten the German champions, the English champions, the Spanish champions, and it's only December. December literally just started. Jurgen Klopp must be scowling at his TV week in, week out this season. 9 years, and City decided to implode the year he leaves. 7 games now without a win for City. 6 of those games have been defeats. I cannot believe that those words just came out of my mouth. Hello, hope you're well. I'm Tinashe. Welcome back. Did you guys just hear that? Nothing. It's the sound of Erling Haaland hitting the back of the net last night. Liverpool vs Manchester City has been the pinnacle of the Premier League for almost a decade now. It's been a game that's often been decided by the smallest of margins. Think about the Aguero and Sané days, Salah being a one-man demolition team. Well, that one hasn't changed all too much, has it? But there've been some really crazy battles over the years. Maybe what's happening right now is just a sign of the times for City. Meanwhile, Salah is over here juggling on their graves. This right here is the Premier League table at the time of recording this video. It makes for some very interesting reading, doesn't it? Liverpool knew that win, lose or draw, they would remain at the top of the Premier League table. City, on the other hand, thought that they could probably catch some ground on the current Premier League leaders. It didn't happen. Instead, they fell from 2nd to 5th. All in the space of 2 days. A lot hasn't been happening for City over the past few weeks. Everyone has chimed in on what they think is wrong with them at the moment, and there's probably a lot of truth to what's being said. It probably is just as simple as them being injured a lot and having fatigue from years of dominance. But in real time, nobody's going to take a step back to acknowledge these factors when piling onto them. And maybe they shouldn't. Results matter. And it's obviously not just injuries. Liverpool, for example, are missing Konate, Jota, and Tsimikas. All of them are massive players for them, both in terms of depth and starting quality. After the Liverpool game, chants of sacked in the morning were ringing around the stadium. Guardiola put up 6 fingers. 6 Premier League titles. Or maybe it was 6 defeats. The Jose Mourinho classic. Nobody's getting sacked, and Pep looked like he was having a bit of fun with it. But what he can't hide is the fact that there is a massive psychological impact on this team right now, and it's very visible in all of their faces. Bernardo Silva looked more stressed in this match than he did when that one fan ran up on him in public. And another thing we have to consider is that things are always going so well for a Pep Guardiola managed team that we've never seen him act or do things like he's been doing lately. It looked like the curse was finally being lifted for Man City midweek when they racked up a 3-0 lead against Feyenoord in the Champions League at the Etihad. Like many, I tuned into this match kind of expecting a Man City implosion, but not really being too optimistic about it. And then when they got to that lead, I was like, nah, switched back to the Arsenal match, only to switch right back when a couple minutes later, I heard someone across the street, who I'm guessing is a Man City fan, start yelling. 3 goals after the 74th minute. I switched back at 3-2 and thought there was simply no way. The cameraman for these matches has been doing Pep pretty dirty. Long drawn out shots of the man where we can actively see wrinkles form on his forehead. After that draw, Guardiola had visible red marks on his head and nose, and he even joked that he was trying to hurt himself. Of course, he wasn't being serious, and his PR team came out with a statement apologizing for the insensitivity. Obviously not something that you should ever joke about, and listen, the man's under a lot of stress. I'm sure he meant no offense. But in the event that there is a tiny bit of truth to what he was saying, I do hope he's okay and people are checking on him. None of this is that serious. If you're a City fan and you're upset about your team doing badly and things aren't going well, it's not that deep. Just, stand up, walk around, go and hug someone. I'm being serious. I'm not even joking at this point. Liverpool's season just keeps getting better and better. Only the one loss for them so far. The points have been piling up. Like I said in the intro, Arne Slot really must be confused as to what all the fuss was about in the Premier League. Peter Bosz gave him a harder time in the Eredivisie last season. Liverpool made Real Madrid look like amateurs at times. More than double the shots, possession, expected goals. In almost every metric, they were outclassed. Mohamed Salah got his revenge. It just happened to come 2 years later and in the group stages. Listen, man, it counts for something. The speed of Liverpool's attack was just far too much for Real Madrid to handle, and probably the score should have been a lot higher than it actually was. Courtois conceded 2 goals, and He had a fantastic match. Like it's been throughout the entire season, the second half just belonged to Liverpool. Sir Alex Ferguson once said that a manager can often earn his entire salary through halftime strategy alone. Right now, no manager in world football embodies that more than Slot. And he's fixed so many things for Liverpool. The biggest complaint that you would have heard about this team over the last couple of years is that their defense was leaky. Free-flowing in attack, they score as much as they want. Alisson was providing assists. Van Dijk was a constant threat, but constant slip-ups happened at the back. This is not the case right now. 8 goals conceded all season, the lowest by a huge margin. Second is tied at 13 between Forest and Manchester United? Anyway, Mohamed Salah has been cranking up the pressure on Liverpool to get the money that he feels he deserves. If you didn't know, his contract is up at the end of the season, and it seems that him and Liverpool have yet to come to any sort of an agreement regarding a renewal. He's on record saying that he wants to stay, but the only thing here is that Liverpool have a pretty strict wage structure, and they're not really that well known for giving players contracts after they turn 29, or at the very least big contracts. Salah wants no part of that, and he's being very unsubtle in how he's approaching it. This may be my last game against City at Anfield, so I decided I was just going to enjoy it. He said this in a post-match interview. People were probably still in their seats and he drops a line like that. Everyone points towards this being an FSG pressure tactic, and you know what? I know that FSG is all about advanced analytics and relying on numbers over sentiment. I'd explain more, but it's very inside baseball. All of the numbers are probably telling them right now to get rid of a 32-year-old. But as everyone has already pointed out, guys like Salah have to be the exception. And even besides that, performances aside, I'm pretty sure their numbers should also be telling them that even a 35-year-old Mohamed Salah will probably go over to Saudi for minimum £50 million. Can you imagine the greatest Arab player to ever live moving to Saudi Arabia? I shudder to think of the amount of money that would be offered for that. Yeah, we haven't heard the last of this. It's been a while, but we finally got there. On to the actual match. Manchester City have been struggling dearly with counterattacks and rapid stretches of play. It really does suck for them that Liverpool is probably the best team on the planet at those things. Hate when that happens. So the game went exactly as we all thought it would from the start. Liverpool were on top and it wasn't even close. The first 15 minutes was just a barrage of attacking intent. I could barely keep up with it on the screen. I can only imagine what was going through Phil Foden's head. Phil Foden played 78 minutes, guys. Did you notice? I didn't. Liverpool had 63% of the possession. They took 5 shots with 3 on target. Manchester City's attempts on target was the exact same as their total attempts. 0. 11 touches in the opponent's box for Liverpool, 0 for City. Liverpool pressed relentlessly from the front with the front 4 of Gakpo, Salah, Diaz and Szoboszlai. Szoboszlai put in an absolute shift, by the way. He was chasing shadows for a lot of the game, but he just kept doing it. And the result was that City couldn't get out of their own half. I can't believe I just said that. City could not get out of their own half. Van Dijk should have scored a hat-trick of headers. It was almost like McAllister had target locking ability here. He was a bully at every corner. We've already spoken about Mohamed Salah, and for good reason too. He is the best right-sided attacker in the Premier League and has been for what, like the past 10 years or so. Right now you could say it's a toss-up between him and Saka, but I think I'm just more inclined to go with Salah, maybe because he's been around for a bit longer. Is that logical? Probably not. Does it have anything to do with what I'm about to say? No. Alexander-Arnold was just being himself and having fun out there. He sends Salah through on the chase. Manuel Akanji is the makeshift left back. Better him than me, okay? Stop right there. This right here is the stuff of nightmares. I guarantee you Pep was seeing this on repeat since the Feyenoord match. He shimmies left, puts it into the back post, and Gakpo ghosts in ahead of Kyle Walker. Surprise, surprise. Wallahi, this man is finished. Liverpool wasted so many chances that in my mind I was like, okay, this is when it happens. They're missing so many that City are bound to make a comeback. But they didn't. Liverpool just kept on going and deservedly got their second goal. And when I say deservedly, I really mean it. Look at these first half stats off SofaScore. They look bad for City, and the shocking thing about this is that they actually flatter them. Slot switched it up in the second half and brought his men further infield, his midfield especially, and that resulted in City having a bit more possession. But this was all by design, because it was pretty ineffective possession. Kelleher is probably the best number 2 keeper on the planet, and he had a pretty quiet Sunday evening outside of 1 or 2 moments. Despite all of that, Liverpool remained extremely dangerous throughout the entirety of the rest of the match. So I'm about to highlight 2 specific situations that really do well at highlighting how incredibly relentless this Liverpool press is. Deep in the second half, City are in this position, building up an attack. Not the most dangerous situation, a couple of passing options for Ruben Dias. Luis Diaz is behind him, but as long as he releases, he should be fine. He opts for the ball through to Bernardo Silva, and in a flash, the options seem less and less evident. Szoboszlai activates and it all falls apart. Silva goes back to Akanji, Salah latches on there. Another nightmare situation. Luckily for City, Salah had a stinker here and skies the ball. And then we come to the second goal, the most accurate representation of how these 2 teams are faring right now. Liverpool great, City routine ball comes straight through from Kelleher. Akanji, I'm not sure what he's doing here, puts a header through to Diaz. Why? I don't know. The only option here is to back pass to Ortega and just hoof it upfield. Walker should be relaying that to Diaz. He doesn't. Diaz gets pickpocketed by Darwin Núñez, and Liverpool's Diaz and Salah are in a 2 vs 0. Ortega has no choice but to kamikaze. Not sure how he didn't pick up at least a card here. Regardless, the pen is awarded and Salah redeems himself from his miss versus Real Madrid. Unbelievable stuff. Man City's defense and communication and organization is just shambolic right now, and I just don't get it. I spent the last 3 or 4 weeks talking about how bad their right side is in particular with Walker, but it's just all a mess. Vardiol was their only consistent performer for so long, but even his performances have dropped off a cliff, and he didn't even start against Liverpool. Almost all of their centre-backs are back from injury, Diaz and Akanji, but they are being eaten alive. Credit where credit is due though. Darwin Núñez was all over the place at the end of it. It was his demonic pressing that led to the second goal, and he did not stop. He came on in the 73rd minute for Gakpo, and we talk a lot about super subs and their ability to change matches, but this kind of super sub is just as important, maybe even more so. He may not be the most consistent in front of goal, but I guarantee you, every Liverpool fan loves the heck out of this guy. Have I mentioned that Phil Foden played 78 minutes yesterday? Sorry, I have to remind myself of that. We're in a very dark timeline for City at the moment. And the scary thing about this Liverpool side is that they haven't even reached their final form. There's so much they can improve on. 9 points ahead this early in the campaign. This league is entirely theirs to lose. People are out here pointing out that Man City is eventually going to win a match, and this terrible streak that they're on is going to come to an end, and we're all going to forget about it. And I'm one of those people. After every loss that I've at least spoken about in any sort of video, I've echoed that sentiment. But maybe I just need to stop. Maybe I need to take a step back,
Just enjoy them, man. We're lucky
very
to be in this.
different.
And they may not be out the woods just yet. You see what I did there? They've got a whole forest up next, and Chris Wood is chomping at the bit to get his hands on this defense. The only team to beat Liverpool this year too. Godspeed. Elsewhere, despite all the chaos that's been going on at the very top of the Premier League, Arsenal are in a position that they know all too well. Second. And I'm not making some sort of joke here. The consistency is admirable, especially when so many people completely wrote them off earlier in the season. The more defensive displays, like their one against City, which seems like a heck of a long time ago now, especially considering the current climate, put people off the Gunners a little bit. But 13 goals in the last 3 games, it tells a compelling tale. Ødegaard is back up and firing again, either a goal or an assist in every game since he's been back from injury. Havertz, Rice, Timber, a lot of consistent performers here. They're a good team. More news at 8. And my God, like I said earlier, Saka is just unbelievable. I had the West Ham Arsenal game in the background while I was playing Forza on Saturday, and when you're like not really paying that much attention to a match, you're kind of doing your own thing and looking up and every now and then doing that. Every time I did that, Saka was doing something incredible. And some people still refuse to say he's world class. It's unbelievable. Video on him coming soon. Before that video, he's gonna have to welcome an Avengers level threat to the Emirates. Ruben Amorim's Manchester United. The streets are saying that Man City Liverpool was just an appetizer and this is the real main event. Listen, I didn't say it. Take it up with the streets. Joshua Zirkzee is scoring goals. Rashford is putting in a shift. New manager bounce is very real. From what we've been seeing so far from Amorim's United, there's a lot to be impressed with so far. Quick movements, a lot of width, a lot of space, bit of a double-edged sword because the space is both in attack and defense, but it's a work in progress. And also, Everton may not be the most shining example of the best team to test yourself against, so let's see what happens. Arsenal are obviously the favorites. It's at the Emirates, that should be that. But I don't know, man. This game isn't always clear-cut. Then again, Kobbie Mainoo and Lisandro Martinez are both suspended due to card accumulation. Now you may be asking yourself, how did Mainoo manage to accumulate 5 yellow cards in 8 Premier League appearances? Ten Hag was asking him to cover an entire midfield. How has Martinez done the same in 11 matches? His nickname is the Butcher. Honestly, I'm surprised it wasn't a lot worse. Something that a lot of people don't seem to be paying that much attention to is the other team that's very highly rated that's been doing atrociously and dropping points left, right, and center. Aston Villa. In their last 8 games, they've not won a single time. Similar to City, they had a great record before that. 13 games, only 1 loss. I made a video on their prospects at the start of the season, and I remember feeling that they would do pretty well this season. At the very least, I thought they would be better than Newcastle, who played in the Champions League last season after finishing 4th, and their performances just nosedived in terms of everything. Aston Villa did have European football last season. It was Europa Conference League, sure, but it was midweek, and they made it to the semi-finals. They have a pretty solid record in the Champions League this season. Remember when modern-day Barclays man John Duran chipped Manuel Neuer? In the 11 games since then, they've only won twice. Chelsea were the latest to take points off them. 3-0 at the Bridge. It seems all of us were a bit too harsh on Chelsea at the beginning of the season. I'll speak for myself, I was. We talk about Arsenal still being in the race and the second best team in the country. Meanwhile, here Chelsea is, neck and neck, literally identical table stats. There's a lot that I need to catch up on when it comes to this team, and their time will come. With all the December fixtures coming in thick and fast, there is plenty of time for that. I'm going to do my best to try and keep up with everything. We got match reviews, player profiles, retro videos, all of that in the works. You know the deal. And there we have it. Let me know what you guys thought about this City-Liverpool match. Premier League title. It's crazy. That's all for me today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you're having a great day. Cheers, and I will catch you in the next one.